Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Friends, it's time to watch the fourth episode of the third season of Star Trek the original series entitled, "And the Children Shall Lead." Full disclosure, everybody. By no means do I think these comments in the past were meant to be spoilery, but I will give you an example of how I know about the title, "And the Children Shall Lead." Whenever we have an episode, oh, let's just say like the alternative factor, or I don't know, Spock's brain, I will get a comment like this. Again, I don't blame anybody for this, but this is a great comment. Someone will say, oh, you know what? I liked Spock's brain. At least it's no, and the children shall lead. So, friends, I'm going in with an open mind. Open mind. Open mind, everybody. Before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel and it allows me to alert you next time we go live. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description. But all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to experience something that I've only heard whispered in legend, friends, as we watch Star Trek the original series, Season 3, Episode 4, "And the Children Shall Lead." Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction, and away we go! Look at that beauty.
Responding to a distress call from our scientific colony on Triacus, we are beaming down to investigate.
They say Triagus? Oh. Well, that's not great. Hey, what's up, Purple? Plum.
He's dead, Captain.
He didn't seem to know me.
Then why the hell did we bring you along, Plum? Should we maybe check everybody here? She has markings all over her.
Cyanotin.
Poison?
Self-inflicted.
So they all killed themselves? Uh-oh.
I'm Tommy Starnes. This is Mary, Steve, Ray, and Don.
Hey, Tommy, are you interested in the fact that everybody's dead, or? We're gonna sing about the plague, everybody. Jim has reached a threshold of his bullshit tolerance meter. He's going to tell us about the final frontier right now. I'm not going to make any comments right now on "And the Children Shall Lead," but I will hearken back to Miri when I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm sure you all do. One of my favorite Jim Kirk moments ever. If you remember that kid that was like always dancing around and singing and shit, and like he was just utterly obnoxious, like he was just he was just always saying something, always doing something, and not one of the older kids. He was one of the younger actual children. At one point, Bill Shatner throws that kid to the ground. I mean, throws that kid to the ground, and I don't know why. I shouldn't. I shouldn't find that as funny as I do. Oh my God. I swear that a couple, I mean, it might be every other week or something, I'll think about that and just start laughing, which it pretty much tells you all you need to know about my mental state. So funny. I'm going to put it in if I can. I'll put a clip in real quick.
We have buried the members of the Starnes exploration party. Everyone has been deeply affected by what has happened here.
Except the kids. Spock, stun all them.
The way those deaths occurred, any reaction is possible, including lacunar amnesia. That's my diagnosis.
All of them, though? Like, all the kids?
Careful.
I'm sorry, Captain Kirk.
This is a memorial to all of your dead parents.
It's late, and it's time to go up to the ship.
Oh, not yet. But we're just beginning to have fun. Do not know.
Acting. Now, the parents were saying, like, enemy within. All right, everybody.
The attack on Professor Starn's party must surely have been unprovoked.
Attack? Mass suicide is what it seems to be.
Yeah, but he was complaining about it.
A helpless mental depression and a state of suicidal anxiety could have been chemically induced.
What would make the children immune?
I do not know.
Then the children would have been exempted by conscious design.
Yeah.
This planet is uninhabited, Mr. Spock, to the best of our information.
At present, yes.
To the best of our information. Do we have a devil in the dark type of situation where they, you know, is there like a native life form that...
I'm getting a feeling of anxiety in this place. But it's strongest right here.
I'm not aware of it, Captain.
Not affecting Spock.
What's causing your tricorder to react?
Maybe get off planet, guys. There's no reason to stick around here.
Let's get back to the ship. I want to check out those tapes from Professor Starn's tricorder.
Was he infected, I wonder, just there? Or if that the actual place was what produced the anxiety. Yeah, beauty.
Each card is a different flavor. You take your pick, and the computer will mix your favorite combination. Now, what would you like? Just call out your favorites.
Or shitheads, just grab them.
Well, would you like a surprise, Stevie?
It opens up and someone just punches him in the face. Surprise!
It's coconut and vanilla. They're both white.
There, now, Stevie. There are unpleasant surprises as well as pleasant ones.
Really? Lack of color?
Chocolate wobble and pistachio.
Oh, coming right up.
And peach.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, it's going to be a wonderful surprise.
Hey, you're welcome, Stevie.
Well, I won't prevent you questioning them, but it could harm the children if you do.
Could be far worse for them if I don't. And for us, too.
Be careful.
I don't have anything else to argue about, so go ahead.
I'm sure your parents loved you. That's why they took you with them to Triacus. So they wouldn't be so far away from you for such a long time. That would make them very unhappy, and they'd miss you. I'm sure that you would miss them, too.
Think again. We killed them all.
Busy.
Oh, dear God. These remind me of the kids from Mary. Let's put them down on the brig. I want you round the clock stunning. As soon as you start to stir, stun them.
Now, wait a minute.
Can we have some more ice cream, please?
No.
No, I don't think so. It'll spoil your dinner.
See what I told you? They all say it.
Yeah.
Listen, Tommy. I've got my eye on you anyway.
Sweet house.
Tommy.
Yes, all right.
Yeah, you're going to stick around.
Tommy, will you tell me what you saw?
So where?
On the planet when everybody died?
What was going on that would have upset him?
How should I know? He was always upset. Just like you, Captain Kirk.
Hey, Tommy, do you pay attention to anything?
We invited you aboard the Enterprise. Why would I do that if I didn't like you?
You have your reasons.
Have you seen the airlock, Tommy? Terrible. I'm so sorry. Watching too much Expanse.
Can I go now? I'm tired too, you know.
Yes, certainly. I'll take you.
I know the way.
Well, that's okay, Tommy. I'll take you. You could be a security risk.
Kirk to security. Post a guard on the children. They're to be kept under constant watch.
If they leave their room, stun them.
Hail, hail, fire and snow. Call the angel.
A couple of the kids are taking the direction, don't look in the camera. A couple of them are being rebels.
Marcus 12 has millions of people on it. Nearly 1 million will join us as our friends. The rest will be our enemies. To control the ship, We first must control the crew. You know how to do that. That is your next task.
I need someone to go and get a tablecloth for me. I need you to cut a hole in the middle of it so I may change clothes. Okay, so my man in the green needs to get to a star base so they can infect 1,000,000 people and then have them fight the other 1,000,000.
Captain, I have extracted the salient portion of Professor Starnes' tapes.
Good.
It appears he was heavily into opium.
Professor Starnes also offered some rather unscientific hypotheses.
Let's see them.
It's just him screaming. These kids are crazy.
However, I found that the rest of my associates are also bothered by these anxieties. The only ones not affected are the children.
Also, the severe diarrhea has been bad.
The feeling of anxiety we've all been experiencing is growing worse.
As is the diarrhea.
It would appear that one of the race took refuge in the cave. And for our efforts, we are becoming only more apprehensive.
What happened?
Unknown.
Hey, Tommy.
Captain, after we leave here, can you take us to Marcus 12?
No.
Mr. Spock will pursue this in my quarters.
Captain, can I stay here and watch? I'll be very quiet.
No.
Lieutenant, have Dr. McCoy report to my quarters for a brief conference. Mr. Leslie?
Mr. Leslie stunned him. Throw him back in his room. Uhura, keep an eye on him. Everybody else is not paying attention here. They just let him, like, walk around the whole... go to the bridge? I mean, no one's allowed up here.
The planet Triacus.
Will we see that all the time we stay here?
Yes, we will.
It's a planet.
It's on the screen.
He thinks he sees it.
Oh, we're actually going somewhere.
Will we reach Marcos 12 soon?
Very soon.
Ugh. I'll just veer away from the alternative definitions of that gesture and just go with, it looks like they're starting like Rochambeau, like rock, scissors, paper. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll go with that.
What do you mean we haven't changed course? Look at your bridge control monitor.
We're still in orbit, sir.
Have you gone completely blind?
Shithead.
Blind fool! Can't you see what's in front of you? We're not in orbit.
We've seen that guy before.
Not yet.
Yeah, Scotty. It's a big guy. Definitely a stunt man. It's like...
Whatever overwhelmed them must have done so with incredible speed.
Right.
Evil does seek to maintain power by suppressing the truth.
Or by misleading the innocent. Do you mean the children may be involved?
I'm not sure, but Tommy definitely is. I don't trust him. Have him meet me at the airlock. I was going to double down on the child murder, I guess. It's awful.
After many centuries, the destroyers were themselves destroyed by those they had preyed upon. It warns that the evil is awaiting a catalyst to set it again into motion and send it marauding across the galaxy.
One day it'll rise again, eh?
That unless the normal grief is tapped and released from these children, you are treading dangerously.
Bones, you're against it? Shocker.
What was it Professor Starnes said about the unseen force?
Enemy within.
I think it's about time we found out whether Professor Starnes' enemy within is on the planet below or here on board ship with us.
Can't they feel the fact that they're moving? That's what I never understood. Like, inertial dampeners, right? From, like, the limited knowledge I have of those.
Be prepared with your communicators at all times to report any alien beings. Don't wait to investigate.
Well, these guys are going to die. See you guys. Dear God, those guys just got transported into space.
I'm unable to lock onto the proper coordinates, Captain.
Why not?
Because the planet's not there.
Longer orbiting Triacus.
That's impossible.
Then where are those men?
And the men I beamed down are dead.
Captain, we are no longer orbiting Triacus.
Sulu!
I have Triacus on my screen now.
You're off course. I'm coming right up.
High, fire and snow.
Oh boy.
High,
Salute.
fire and snow. Call the angel, we will go.
What are these assholes doing on my bridge? That's our tablecloth from the galley. And Boss Hog is wearing it. Sorry.
The fear in each one of them is the beast which will consume him. Remember how it was on Triacus?
Try that with Spock.
If you need me, call, and I will appear. Our new goal is Marcus 12.
Are we gonna let this guy monologue? Walk up, grab the security guys, phaser, phase them all. We'll sort it out.
Disregard what you see on the screen, what you think you see on the screen. Set a course for Starbase 4. Helmsman, did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Does no one see the kid doing this?
Aye, aye, sir.
God bless, that's horrific. Hey, Tommy, can you take a punch? I mean, at this point, you gotta drop these people.
Lieutenant, there's nothing there.
Oh, God. Captain, don't let it be.
Why haven't they done this to Jim yet, I wonder?
Zulu, I ordered you to change course.
It's a tunnel of blades, Jim.
Captain, stay away from the controls. If you touch them, we'll be destroyed.
Mr. Sulu, there's nothing there.
George!
Captain, why are we bothering Starfleet?
What? No way. There's no way they got Spock.
This bridge is under complete control. There is no need.
How'd they get Spock? Uh-oh.
I cannot obey your order, Captain.
Boy, they're returning to these shots just to remind us what's going on. It's also buying time, I think.
Take Mr. Sulu to his quarters. He's relieved of duty.
Oh my God, this is so annoying.
From the confined quarters.
Now, Spock was able to break through. It's the diarrhea now.
Captain, we must get off this bridge.
Spock just reaches over and nerve pinches him.
I'm losing my ability to command.
Woo! Woo, everybody! Woo!
I'm alone. Alone.
Alternative factor, you might be off the hook.
I've got command. I've got command.
You don't, but if that's the mantra that you need, then sure.
I want you to override the bridge navigation system, plot a course for Starbase 4.
I can't do that, sir.
What?
These are very sensitive instruments. I will not have you upset their delicate balance.
Spock.
The Enterprise has been invaded by alien beings. Its destination is Marcus. If we take it there, millions will die the way they died at Triacus.
Oh my God. I didn't think any physical gesture could be as annoying as the Charlie X eye roll. I was painfully mistaken.
Captain, the 430 men and women on board the Enterprise and the ship itself.
Yep.
Don't understand the evil that they're doing.
Perhaps that is true. But the evil that is within them is spreading fast. And unless we can find a way to remove it...
You're going to end up like Triacus.
We'll have to kill them.
Jesus, now you're talking my language. I don't mean any of that. It's just hilarious.
I have been instructed to place you and Mr. Spock under arrest.
This is like Mirror Mirror.
Where did you hear this order, Hanson?
From that little shithead.
I'm sorry, Captain, but I must insist you and Mr. Spock come with me to the detention section.
Hanson, listen to me.
Okay.
Do not force me to kill you, sir. I will, if I have to.
Woo! Ooh. Oh my God, enough with this shit.
Will you come peacefully, Captain?
Answer, Mr. B. This is a false order, Ensign.
False. Tricksy hobbitses.
So listen to me, you will disobey this order.
Starfleet Command supersedes your order, sir!
Yeah, I mean, come on. This is this episode should be 5 minutes long. Tommy, you better know how to command these guys in hand-to-hand combat because you got two of the best. Oh, that's that. Oh my God, it's awesome. Oh yeah, now Tommy takes off. My hand punching's not working. Oh my God.
He will come if we call him.
But we won't. We don't need him. We're not afraid of you.
You should be.
Let him prove to me that he is my friend, and I'll follow him to Marcus 12 and to the ends of the universe.
No!
I found the other kids. They're gone.
Fire and snow. Call the angel. We will go.
You guys, you realize you killed all your parents, right?
Who has summoned me?
We want our tablecloth back.
My followers are strong and faithful and obedient. That's why we take what is ours wherever we go.
Woo.
Children, I have pictures of some of you on Triacus. I'd like to show them to you. Would you like to see them?
They did have that from the professor's tricorder, the family pictures and picnics, they said. By the way, all your parents are dead here. It's your fault. While they're distracted, nerve pinches for everybody. Wow, they're buying a lot of time in this episode. That's all them dead, everybody.
They have to be eliminated.
Nice.
We have millions of friends on Marcus 12. We shall exterminate all who oppose us. They must be annihilated.
Don't be afraid. Look at him.
He's wearing a tablecloth.
Side to make way for the strong.
Look how ugly he really is. Look at him. And don't be afraid.
Damn, it's some pretty good makeup, though.
To you all.
Because I think they have an eye running down the side of his face, right? Yep, there we go. There's a planet, like, zooming towards him.
They're crying, Jim. I don't know how it happened, but it's good to see.
Thanks, Plum.
It's all right. It's all right, isn't it, Doctor?
I guess so.
It's all right. We can help them now.
Help everybody but Tommy.
Marcus 12, dead ahead, sir.
Reverse course, Mr. Sulu.
I see.
Wow, nick of time.
Set course for Starbase 4, Mr. Sulu.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alrighty. Alright, everybody. We just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 4, and the children shall lead. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. Alright, everyone. We just got done watching the 4th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek, the original series, and the children shall lead. It appears the legends were true. Let me start off with this. My aunt was a stage actress like her entire life, and she had many funny lines. She had a great line that she said that she refused to work with dogs and children because I always assumed it was because they would upstage her because, you know, dogs and they get the claps from the crowds and kids, no matter what they do, you know, are appreciated by the audience. And later in her life, she said that that was not it. It was that dogs and children weren't great. You know, they wouldn't listen. They didn't, you know, they weren't professionals. They went off script, yada, yada, yada. They were the variable, the roguish element in a stage production. And I think that's what she was getting at. And that's what we got with this, and the children shall lead. It's a problem that you think should be taken care of like this. You know, like it's not something that should linger an entire episode. You know what I mean? And I think that's where my biggest problem comes from all of this, because Jim had his faculties about him most of the time. Spock had his faculties about him most of the time. I'm pretty sure Bones had his faculties about him the entire time. Like I don't believe he was ever compromised. But it's just, you know, you're letting these kids, like, they're 2 feet away from you doing their weird hand gesture and controlling your crew. And like at some point when, you know, like there's 400 plus people on the Enterprise, we've got to take care of these people. You know, at some point you're just gonna have to start phasing these kids. And I'm not talking about killing. I was joking about like the airlock and stuff. That's the expanse coming out of me. But you know, it's like you've got to do something to neutralize these kids. And I mean, you know, the nerve pinch. I mean, non-lethal neutralizing the kids. You know, the nerve pinch, the stun. You would think that this would be over almost immediately. And what they didn't do, I mean, they didn't do a good job of explaining anything about this other than, you know, the exposition, the only exposition that we really received, because Spock was very unhelpful in this episode, as far as like he didn't really have a chance to like get into the nuts and bolts about why these things were happening. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of like, you know, there's something controlling them, yada yada yada. It's the, you know, it's working on fear and anxiety and things. It was very nebulous. You know, the entire like the entire episode was just it was a problem that you would think there's a solution to this that's easier than what we're doing. I mean, there was just so much coming off of it that, I mean, quite frankly, I couldn't follow the narrative logic of, you know, the kids were compelled, then they weren't, then they could remember, then they didn't, then they failed to remember the deaths of their parents, but then at the same time they could remember their parents. It was like specific memories were taken out, and you know, I mean, I don't know. It was a hot mess. The whole episode was a fantastic mess. And again, that's a problem that has nothing to do with the performers. That's nothing to do with the actors on the screen, or very honestly the director either. This is 100% a writing problem in this episode, 100% an editing problem. The premise of it is an interesting one in that, you know, if you appear down there's a survivor or a group of survivors, they could still be kids, sure, that are carrying this kind of hypnotized, indoctrinated disease of this one like alien entity. On face value, it sounds cool, you know. The idea is, you know, the compulsion is not necessarily to take over everything. I just need you. And see, that's my biggest problem with this episode. My biggest problem with this episode is Gorgon, or whatever his name was, wanted to get to Marcus for some effing reason. That's not necessarily what he needed to do. He needed to get to a more populated area, contaminate those people, and then spread. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't like Marcus was like, he was just going there and that was it. You know, ultimately, it was like a universal kind of contagion that was going to be happening. Here's my biggest problem in the entire episode is that, you know, if you're dealing with somebody that is obviously of an intelligence enough, in this Gorgon, who was able to kind of, you know, see all these things, keeping your mouth shut and being quiet and letting the kids just kind of like, if you can compel and command them, then compel and command them to be quiet and remorseful. So you just take them, you put them into the Enterprise, you go to the starbase, the stowaway tags along. As soon as you get to the starbase, well, then it's game on. And you're able to, you know, take over as many people as you want, then go to Marcus if you want to. It was like he caused his own problem. You know, Gorgon caused his own problem. And that doesn't make any sense to me, because it's you know, if you're doing with this subtle manipulation of somebody that can disappear, he's incorporeal. So, you know, it's not like they're going to find him and be like, well, who's that guy in the tablecloth? You know, I mean, it was just, it's a hot mess. It was really bad. And the lines there wasn't even a really good line in this one, you know? You're not sure who was compelled. You didn't get to see everybody get, you know, like hypnotized. You just assume that these kids that are all around, that they allowed to just wander. Even the people that aren't compelled were just like, oh, hey, there's a kid in engineering. Fuck it. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I do. You know, it's like nothing. It's like somebody wrote this episode and had no clue what Starfleet protocol was and was just like, they'll let him on the bridge, right? Right. Sure. Yeah. Write him on the bridge. None of that makes any sense. You know, and again, it just doesn't make any sense for Gorgon to play his hand in the Enterprise. The Enterprise should be where he is the most in the background, the most shadowy. He, you know, and then as soon as you get to the starbase, boom, you know, hatch your evil plot of, you know, the jerking off move, and everybody, you know, sees shit that they don't want to see, and or whatever, and fights and dies and things like that. I I don't understand it. And I don't understand I mean, this is like the reverse fairy premise from Peter Pan. When it's like, it clap if you believe in fairies, and then that brought Tinkerbell back to life. It's like, as soon as they stopped believing in this guy, he melted. Okay, well, that seems to be a it seems to be a bit of a flaw in that life form. If you can just be like, we don't have to listen to you anymore. Oh, damn, dude. I can understand now why you need to be in command. It's sort of a life and death type of thing. They didn't have enough in this to make an episode. Very similar to the alternative factor, when we had that like photo negative zone fighting between the two of them. And it was like, hey, we need to buy some more time. Throw in another fight sequence in that hallway where they're slow-mo fighting. And it's like 30, 45 seconds later, we come back to like the actual action, so they can buy themselves more time, more like airtime to make an episode complete. Boy, oh boy, we had a ton of that shit in this episode too. I mean, how many times did we see them kind of linger on a face, go back to the space filled with knives for Sulu, for Uhura seeing herself at the time of her death and back, and then time of her death again, and all these different, like, reactionary shot, what am I looking at? And then we do it again, reactionary shot, what am I looking at? And so, again, if that was my biggest problem with the alternative factor, then I've got to be able to bring that over to "And the Children Shall Lead." So with this one, as of right now, I would have to say, just if someone said, make a decision, I would have to say "And the Children Shall Lead" might be my new bottom dweller for Star Trek, the original series. What do you all think, though? And I hate to say that, because if somebody out there really likes this episode, know this. I would never yuck your yum. I'm never going to be like, how the hell could you like this episode? Because if you do, please tell me why you like this episode. I absolutely no ridicule, nothing whatsoever. I'm curious, because it might easily be something that could sway me to look at this again, look at it in a different light. And that's what I think the Star Trek community is best at. The Star Trek community is best at really appreciating just about everything that has come out. There's something good in each of the original series episodes. And, that's what I really kind of was disappointed in myself for the alternative factor. I couldn't find anything in the alternative factor that I would need to see again. Does that make sense? And I feel the same way about this one. There's nothing in this episode that I would want to see again. Boy, that was a really interesting part of Star Trek lore or characterization, or, some cool thing that happened between the characters' dynamics. I didn't see any of that in this one. But I'm sure there is way more about this episode that happened behind the cameras, because by God, this one couldn't have been easy. I can't wait to find out about it, friends. And there's only one person that we can trust to deliver us the greatest and the juiciest information about what went on behind the cameras of Star Trek Season 3, Episode 4, "And the Children Shall Lead." Let's ask him. General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane. Retired. Friends, this is where, after having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I like to dig a little bit deeper behind the scenes and find out exactly what went into the making of said episode. But of course, to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds and talking for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 different categories in which to appeal. The first, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth and juiciest of the categories, the production notes. What went on behind the cameras? And fifth, last but certainly not least, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my dear friends, and for our first category, writer and director, who were they? Well, we have 2 rookies here for both writing and direction for this episode. Our writer was Edward Laxo, and our director was Marvin Chomsky, both brand new to the Star Trek franchise, and this is their first offering. And now, friends, for our second category, guest stars. Did we have any? We certainly did. I narrowed it down to 3, just to keep myself honest here. Our first was Melvin Belly as Gorgon, he of the tablecloth fame. Our second was, I guess, our main kid, Craig Hundley as Tommy Starnes. And the other one I had to throw in there, Brian Tochi as Ray. Brian goes on to be a member of Lambda 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 fraternity in Revenge of the Nerds. Great stuff. Let's move on. Now for our third category, friends, of our core cast, or the Big Eight, who was present? Well, the Big Eight consists of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and Chekhov and Nurse Chapel. Good news, friends, all hands present and accounted for in this episode. Good stuff. Let's move on. And now, friends, our fourth category, production notes. This is where we learn if the story behind the camera was as exciting or more exciting than the story in front of the camera. Let's get started. All right, my friends, and for the first production note, I thought I'd just get this out of the way. And these are not my opinions, this is what I have looked up. The research for this episode, as far as how it was received, I guess I could boil it down into one word: poorly. It was not received well. It historically has not been received well, to the point where it exists on numerous worst of lists for Star Trek, several of them giving it as the worst episode of Star Trek. Now, for my opinion, I don't believe that. Was this one of the stronger Trek episodes? No, of course not. I mean, but you're talking about rarefied air with strong episodes of Star Trek. They're phenomenal classic episodes. And so by no means am I going to poo-poo this, because I know one thing: that the Star Trek community has its favorites. It has ones that it likes, and they are not universally accepted as, the 5 best episodes. We all have different episodes that we really like. I always harken back to Friday's Child in season 2, and I absolutely love that episode. And I've had people that have been like, really? That's mine. I like Friday's Child. I liked it quite a bit. But again, there's something for everybody. So what I thought I would do is just let you all know that generally this episode is not liked. And I would give you one quick quote from one of the publications that panned it, so you kind of get an idea of what they were talking about. And I quote, "This episode has a script that offers virtually nothing. No suspense, no character development, no intriguing sci-fi, and not one memorable line of dialogue." Okay, so that's the end of the quote. That's pretty harsh. And so what I always say is, anytime I've heard several of the episodes I've enjoyed have shown up on these bottom 5 lists, but take it for what it will. I think it's a kind of a testament to Star Trek that people have strong emotions, both positive and negative, for the episodes. And again, I always err on the side of positive because I love the show so much. It is my absolute favorite Star Trek that I've run across so far. I don't see that changing, and I think there's some good in every single episode, Spock's brain included. Friends, let's move on. All right, friends, and for our second offering here for the production notes, this is the only episode of the original series in which we see the fully fledged United Federation of Planets flag. Before that, they were using the UN flag as a representation for the United Federations of Planets. But this is the first time we see the Federation flag in all of its glory. Friends, let's move on. All right, friends, and I thought this one was a silly one. This is our third production note. The role of Gorgon was given to a prominent attorney in Hollywood by Fred, I always forget this guy's name, Fred Freiberger, who is taken over as the producer in the final season, which all of you have given me pretty negative looks on old Fred. So take this as maybe an addition to that. Fred hired this attorney thinking that it would bring more eyes to the episode, but it turns out this attorney, Marvin Belly, couldn't act. We'll get to that in a second, but I just think it was a really interesting, not interesting, kind of a mind-blowing idea. We've got a major villain character to cast for this episode. I'm going to cast a non-actor attorney for the role, thinking that would bring in eyes. I'm thinking maybe Fred thought it would get him a little favor in the Hollywood community. That's just my personal thought. The other thing I will say is this, that Fred seemed to come around a little bit after he saw the dailies at the end of the week and said it probably would have been better to hire an actor. Let's move on to our next production note. When Gene Roddenberry sees the dailies. Let's move on. All right, and for our fourth production note, as promised, this is when Gene Roddenberry saw the first kind of cut for this episode. Now, from what you all have told me and from what my research has told me as well, Gene Roddenberry was not on set nearly as much, if at all, for a lot of season 3. He was removed, the studio, they were having problems. Hollywood in general was kind of having problems with Gene Roddenberry, if my information is to be believed. And so it seems that this entire episode was shot before and shot and done and dusted before Roddenberry even saw the first cut. Because normally you're going to look at dailies and things like that to know in the moment if there's another scene that needs to be recorded or if there's something else that another take that needs to be done. But when you're watching the first cut of an episode, that means the production aspect of it is done and you're in post-production now. And so the fact that Gene Roddenberry was just seeing a cut of this makes me believe that, that's how far removed he was sort of from the day-to-day of Star Trek. But when Roddenberry saw this episode, he was appalled. Apparently, he went berserk. And he told everybody that, I don't know, apparently Fred caught an earful about hiring Marvin Belly, the attorney, to be Gorgon, because that's where his main problem was. He said the guy can't act, he stands, he doesn't move, it's an awful costume they have him in. So what he told everybody in kind of like the post-production FX department, he said, make him glow green, distort his voice, do whatever you can to make this guy animated in any way. Thus, Gorgon, who was not supposed to be green and glowing and not supposed to have a distorted, echoey voice, got all of that as Gene Roddenberry desperately tried to paper over the fact that this guy couldn't act. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our fifth production note, I thought I would throw this quick one in here just to show this as a script problem, not in our traditional sense. Our traditional sense for our script problems usually came with, who was getting the credit for it, or, there was a rewrite where the original writer was very irritated by the rewrites, or there was a rewrite where maybe somebody gave themselves credit for something that wasn't necessarily their idea type of stuff. No fingers pointed. But with this one, here's the script problem. And this script problem arises because, as you all have told me, and from what I have now learned, Gene Kuhn is gone now, no longer a part of the production. DC Fontana is hired as not full-time, not on the set full-time, not present full-time, hired in kind of an advisory capacity or a consultant capacity, basically when needed, hired to be brought in to do a set or do a script or a rewrite or, something of that nature. And of course, Gene Roddenberry, as we just mentioned, was not around a lot. So here's where this script problem lies. It's continuity. In this episode, Jim just all of a sudden starts referring to our evil tablecloth-wearing villain as Gorgon, even though we, the audience, and Jim have never heard that name before. It's never been told to us. It's never been revealed in any type of additional context, like a book or a recording or anything like that. It's just all of a sudden known. Apparently, in the original shooting script, there was a scene where Tommy, I believe, tells Bones that the name of this imaginary friend is Gorgon, and I'm assuming that Bones then tells Kirk at some point. But the thing is that that scene was never shot, and it was marked down as having been shot, even though it never was. It wasn't a deleted scene. It just never made the light of day. It never was in front of the camera. And again, these are the type of problems that start to creep through and erode quality when you don't have the mainstays that we had in seasons 1 and 2. I'm guessing. Let's move on. All right, friends, and I thought I'd throw in a bonus production note here. So this is our 6th production note, and I thought that this kind of harkens back to our last one where we said we had some script problems. Here's how the script problems could be resolved in a better manner, and something I think probably would have happened, something similar if, say, DC Fontana had been on set. Robert Blish, who did a lot of the novelizations of the episodes, he did something really cool. He made 2 distinct changes. One of them was, I thought, pretty neat and would have looked pretty neat. In the novelization, Sulu, when he looks out through the view screen, does not see swords kind of encircling the Enterprise. He sees like incoming missiles, like somebody's attacking the Enterprise. And that causes, obviously, the fear and the terror that Sulu sees. I think that's better than floating swords. I think it's kind of more realistic as something that, the helmsperson would see and think, oh my God. So that was pretty neat. And the other one, and I thought this was way better. In the novelization, the kids use nursery rhymes and songs to cast their spells and to summon Gorgon to the area. And I thought that would work so much better and almost be kind of eerie and terrifying to hear kind of like a lullaby or a nursery rhyme kind of sing-songy and have something evil kind of manifest because of it. But again, these are decisions that were made later to kind of streamline the story and make it punch it up a little bit. things that might have happened if we had had one of our mainstays still present. Friends, let's move on. All right, friends, and for our fifth and final category, a memorable quote for this episode, I thought that I looked through and it was very difficult to find one, so I went ahead and I just picked the lyrics from the song, friends. And the lyrics are as follows. Hail, hail, fire and snow, call the angel, we will go. Far away for to see, friendly angel, come to me. Thus ends another installment of Q&A. Until such time as we can play with Jim again, behave yourselves.